Good day to everyone. This is InnMind channel with the best first-hand information for startup founders and tech entrepreneurs. And today we will talk about marketing. Marketing is one of the most important topics for majority of tech businesses, and not only in tech sector. And I invited a very, very high qualified professional in this sector. So please meet Zineb Layachi, who is the founder and CEO at Raise the Round Norway, and also who is co-founder at Pitch Lab. Hi, Zineb.
Hi, Nelly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Zineb, thank you for your time. And you work in marketing, digital marketing sector for so many years. So you are definitely one of the best people in the world to ask you the questions. But before jumping directly to the topic of startup marketing, while preparing to this interview, I was reading this, reports by Deloitte and other companies about digital marketing trends for 2022. And I was surprised. This is so, sorry Deloitte guys, but this is so useless information. It is just a repetition of something which we had a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like human-centric, cookies versus cookieless, and all this AI. But sorry, about AI in marketing, we are talking about last 5 years, I think. So maybe can you open some doors to us into the world of marketing and maybe recall some trends for 2022 that you think will be relevant?
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, I agree with you and what you just said, that we keep saying the same things again and again, and I'm pretty sure that these reports, I mean, it's stuff that gets shown there. There's a reason behind that, right? There are companies behind that, etc. But what I am seeing a lot of people talk more about, and especially in the last year, has been really the basics, to learn from your customers, right? So we take so much time to get to acquire these customers, and then we just keep thinking, okay, so what's next? How can we get more? How can we get more? But the idea of how can we just in parallel keep learning from these customers, right? Because you get so much out of your customers. You get upsells, you get referrals, but you also get those immense learnings that can either reinforce what you're already doing or steer you in a different direction that could be better, right? So I'm seeing a lot more people talk about this. Now, if you ask me, are more people doing it? I'm not sure. Maybe it's all talk, but at least it's there, right? So there's a lot more awareness in that sense.
Okay, but this is evergreen, I would say, advice, yeah? Because it is relevant for all the times and all the years.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm seeing more and more people talk about this, and in terms of trends, not fad. Hopefully, that will lead to an upward trend of this evergreen. Finally, no?
Yeah.
Finally.
Actually, I love a lot that you pay so much attention to this customer development, because usually. And that is also one of the reasons why I'm so happy to continue interviews with you about marketing. So many so-called marketing gurus, they switch directly to different growth hacking techniques, etc., etc. But these fundamentals is still not in every startup. Especially, to be honest, very frustrated because this year specifically we have two very, very big directions at InnMind. One is traditional deal flow of startups, and another one is tokenized startups, blockchain, crypto companies with very rapid development patterns. And what I notice, one of the big differences between these two segments is that the crypto startup marketers, they don't care a shit, about customer development. I did not yet find even one startup in the crypto sector that starts marketing from CAS dev. Or does CASDEF during, already after launching marketing strategy, they only think about, oh, what Telegram groups, what KOLs, what influencers, la 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 la, and no marketing at all. But still, many of them create such a big hype. So how do you think, is it possible to obtain healthy and successful marketing strategies without paying much attention into the customer development thing?
Well, in the example you just gave, I think if they do create hype, now again, whether it's just hype or it's based on real value, that's a question for another time, right? But let's just talk about the actual hype, the initial hype that most startups don't achieve, right? They find hard to. And why? Because what the startups that you're mentioning have probably done right is they know where to be, right? And how to show up, which is the most, what I see other startups struggling with. They dabble a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. So they never end up creating that powerful, you know, the sum of forces in one place or two places where it could really just add up and create much more awareness, right? And another part of that is how they actually show up, right? The examples that you gave probably are showing up in a way that they're being understood, so it actually clicks. They're talking about something that people actually want to hear about, they're interested in. So you see, those elements, I mean, I'm not familiar with the exact startups that you're mentioning, but I'm guessing that they do reach that hype. It's probably because of that. And again, of course, there's that upward trend that also helps, right? I mean, Zoom before COVID and Zoom now, right? Right. So there are also those trends that do help.
Okay.
Increase. Yeah.
Yes, I can't agree with that. I can disagree. Sorry, I can disagree with that. And
it would be okay.
Another question is speaking about, okay, CASDEF you mentioned, but this is a fundamental. It's not that much about everyday tactics. It is about strategic thinking, how your customers react on your content, what content do they want to see, and how can you communicate with them in a more efficient way. But speaking about tactics and tools and platforms, channels of audience outreach, I remember at the beginning of 2021, you were so much excited about this Clubhouse, among many other people who got crazy about it. Even one of my colleagues was calling me, I use Android, and he was telling me, Nelly, you should buy iPhone just to be on Clubhouse. You know, nearly a year later, finally Clubhouse came to Android. I downloaded it, I tried it a few times, I didn't see anything relevant there, and we are still not in Clubhouse, InnMind. So I think this hype is more or less gone. There is probably some audience, but do you envision some other platforms or tools, and do you still believe that businesses should try Clubhouse for their marketing?
I mean, I'm seeing people that not necessarily just people that started from the very beginning, right? People that jumped on the platform maybe February, March, even May, right? And they're doing pretty well. So again, we're going back to the example that you gave with the crypto startups, right? They get on a channel, they get on a specific channel or in a group. They're having those conversations where others are. Just as an example, like medtech. There's I believe it's either the first group, the biggest group, or the second biggest group on Clubhouse. And if you're in that sector, there's so many conversations happening, right? So if we don't think about it as a place to get leads, but just to be, first of all, like way before the leads happen, to be where those conversations are, to learn, to have those conversations, to put yourself on the map right? These types of things. And for those companies that are looking for quick fixes, like the ones you mentioned at the beginning, no, it's not. I get in I choose a room and that's it. Boom, leads in my DM, right? So, and again, we can try so many things. TikTok, for example, right? Do you have to try that? Do you have to be on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse, right? So you sort of have to choose where to be. And then if you're going to be there, just double down on it for a period of time to start seeing some results, whether it's this is not for us or this is for us, right?
Mm-hmm. And then what platforms do you recommend for the startup founders who are launching their business, early stage of development? They have no or very, very little marketing budget. What platforms do you think are must have for them to be in order to kickstart their marketing activities today and in 2022?
Okay, so that's, again, it depends on two things, whether, they're B2B, B2C, right? And then it might also even depend on the type of business. But if you are, if you've done all that customer development, right, or the customer discovery, sorry, at the beginning, and you're getting your first clients, you start to learn. Remember the learning that I mentioned at the beginning. So where are they? Where do they hang out? Who do they trust, right? If they had to make a decision, or if they had a question about something related to the sector, right, or the topic, where would they go, right? So you start gathering this information, and you start saying, oh, okay, so there's a Facebook group. Interesting, right? Whenever you have a doubt about this, you go check that, or you go ask this person, right? So there you start gathering knowledge. Now, when it comes to you, it's very cliche, but people do business with people, right? Right. Let's take even B2B or B2C. I mean, if you want to build your personal brand, LinkedIn is a great place to be. LinkedIn was even better last year and the year before and the year before that, right? But still, because there are so many more people on the platform now, the reach, the reach is getting a little, the opportunity is not as huge, but it's still a great place to be and have those conversations, show what you're working with. A lot of startups have trouble, Nelly, with, okay, so I'm not on social media, and then I build behind closed doors, and then when I have something, I just post about it. Hey, we have a new website, and everyone's like, and who are you? Why should I care, right? And then they get no engagement. They get they lose motivation, and then that's it. You see what I mean? When it's going back to that working, it takes time. You have to. One of the I love examples of startups that are building in public, where literally they're every single step, they're showing their work, right? I don't have a specific example in mind, but I can share a couple links afterwards if you want to add it to the show notes, whether it's on Twitter or LinkedIn. I think it's amazing because they get to, people get to know you for who you are, right? With your struggles and the results. So it's sort of like we're part of the project too. We're, let me see how much, he made this week, or let me see, did what he was building, did it work, did it flop? Was he able to find a co-founder? It's almost like a TV show. You're stuck watching.
So make the whole process, the whole life of the project and even of the founders more visible to the audience, just like glass doors, yeah, so that they can have a look and see what is your everyday life about.
Yeah, but engaging. So if you're talking to the right people, they keep wanting to know more. Not necessarily I mean, of course, then you have your website. You also have your LinkedIn, of course, where people could just come and supposedly they should understand, what you're working on. why they would what they would get out of there if they actually worked with you, etc. All that, that's, you know, your website should be that, also that place. But they should be able to learn about you in other places, because generally discovery, right, will probably happen. You know, Nelly, you'll say, you should check out, you know, you should check out this entrepreneur, he just wrote a book, right? You can send it to me on WhatsApp, and then that's how I discover it, and I go do my research. I'll go on LinkedIn, then I might go on his website, right, etc., etc. But yeah, just more sharing. But people, Nelly, are afraid, entrepreneurs are afraid to share, because they're afraid of being copied.
Yeah, when we did a couple of workshops with different startup founders on InnMind platform, we were asking them, what is your number one actually challenge in your marketing activities? And majority of them said that they are hesitating to expose themselves. I mean, personally, it's more comfortable to hide behind the brand, just talking only about your company from the official pages, which don't have, you know, any personal character. Then, of course, opening the doors to their private life or individual thoughts.
Yeah, and private, you just mentioned private. Of course, you know, it doesn't mean that you need to lay out your private, but at least, you know, if I love humor, for example, then, or maybe I'm let me see, if I like, for example, if I run marathons, which I don't, by the way, if I run marathons, that could speak to, you know, your mindset about business also, right? There are many similarities, right? So we have to also be smart about what we share. It's not just, you know, there's, you know, I don't know, a photo of my cat for, you know, which is fine. No, it's fine, but just being more intentional about what we share.
Yeah, you just reminded me that it has been a while since I shared the photo of my dog. I should repeat it urgently. Okay, so just to summarize about the platforms, LinkedIn definitely must have for every entrepreneur, business founder, etc. And for every business, especially in the B2B sector. Then, what do you think about Facebook? Because 5 years ago, I would not even question this. It was definitely number two or number one together with LinkedIn, the platform. But the last year or even years, okay, sorry, I don't have statistics to prove it, but I have my personal impression and impression from talks with a lot of entrepreneurs every day. And Facebook goes down, 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 down from the perspective of attractiveness to business. I mean, there are a lot of claims that they synthetically reduce your impressions, views, etc. if you don't pay for advertisement for the company page. But the advertisement also became very complicated because they simply block for any. We even tried to experiment with Facebook ads, and they blocked our absolutely innocent ad. There was not a word, and even without explanation why it is blocked. What is wrong with the content here? So what do you think of Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of ads being, you know, blocked, I've had my fair share of that, and it's very frustrating, absolutely. But in terms of Facebook and Instagram, it is still very useful to certain businesses. Now, again, I'm going to say this again, it depends, you know, where is their target audience hanging out, right? Where do they hang out? Where do they make these types of decisions? Where do they learn about this, right? So it goes back to that. In terms of even for B2B, there's so many Facebook groups. I think Facebook groups are one of the, you know, I think maybe the only good thing about Facebook right now, right? Still the Facebook groups. And in terms of reach, of course, anything that's free, we are the product for sure, but they need to make money. So I'm not condoning it, absolutely not. But we might end up seeing the same thing on LinkedIn too, soon, right?
Well,
Because they need to pump. Yeah.
it's better later than soon in this case,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay, we will discuss it in a couple of minutes. I mean, alternatives, new alternatives that appear on the market. But to finalize with the typical platforms, well-known classics, let's say, Twitter, for example, what do you think of them? I have opinion that it is significantly overestimated. Especially this year, everyone wants to be in Twitter. They say that Twitter is where everyone should be, but from traffic, from really a conversion of readers, clicks, and retweets to the audience on your website, it is useless for many, many cases. So do you consider it to be the platform must have to be?
If you show up, like the same thing happens with LinkedIn, right? If you show up consistently and you're out there to give, right? You're giving, you're having these conversations, you're not expecting anything in return, and then you're providing value, and you're actually talking to people that are interested in what you have to share, right? And it's not just sell. It takes time. Right? It takes time. It's the same thing. It's that what we talked about yesterday, earlier, not yesterday, but if we look for quick fixes, like we're gonna find someone that's interesting to our target audience, and we're gonna make sure we post we post a comment, we retweet, and then that's it. We're going to be seen and everyone is going to come, right, to our website. That's not really how it works, right? Because it's, the question is, and who are you, right? Who are you? What do you have to offer, right? But if you prove it over time and start having with these conversations, especially if you know that for your target audience, for example, there's one person that has many followers that are and most of them could be your target audience, right? Then you start interacting with his or her posts, right? You get on the radar of the others, but it doesn't take just one post or one comment, right? You have to do that consistently and provide value, have these conversations. So again, it's not just boom and that's it. And I think that's what's missing. That is what's missing, because, and I like how you started with the conversation with the quick hacks, that's the mentality that stops us from actually building real awareness, because we give up, right? We absolutely give up.
Yeah, but you can't be same consistent and same transparent and value generating in each and every platform.
Absolutely.
And for businesses, it makes sense to be not in one platform, but at least in a couple, in 3, I don't know, channels where their target audience is. So in that way, what will be your advice, again, for the beginners, for the startup founders who are starting their marketing? Should they make these typical content pages in 3, 4, 5 platforms and choose one of them to interact personally also? Or should they really find extra effort to replicate it in all the rest? Or should they take one platform, for example, LinkedIn, interact super closely with the audience there, and simply copy paste this in other platforms?
I think if they're at the very beginning, and generally those are the ones, I'm assuming in your example, those are the ones that are not, they don't already have a social media presence personally, right? So it's not really something that important to them, etc. Which means that if on a personal level, they're not, it doesn't come naturally to them. And also on a business level, they're starting, so they have no presence. I would suggest, looking, doing one really well, That's for sure, because, and even doing it from a personal level. So I probably would learn more about InnMind from you than from your company pages at the beginning, right? And of course, InnMind is not, a new company at all. But let's say at the very beginning, I would probably learn more from you, the CEO, than from the company pages. The company pages, it's there, posts, yes. But at the very beginning, I highly doubt that that's where the business is gonna, or the conversations before the business, but the conversations are gonna actually come from.
Okay, thank you. We will summarize it at the end of the discussion today. And another question, since you pointed out that the platforms like LinkedIn become more difficult to generate traction because of simply the amount of audience there. Facebook is, becoming more and more strict towards promotion and advertising. What do you think of the new alternatives that show up on the market? For example, okay, this is maybe also not a good example for everyone, but in crypto space, we have Torum and a few other new platforms that want to become social media for specific, crypto-friendly and blockchain-friendly community. I'm sure if we look precisely, we find some new social media platforms and channels for non-crypto people. So how can should we take effort and find these new startups in social media sector and be there, or it makes no sense until they become big names?
You mean the new platforms that
Yes,
that are popping up?
Yeah.
The new alternatives. Take Clubhouse, for example. Did it really matter to be one of the first ones there? It depends. But what it did do is it gave those people, or the people that joined early, more attention, right? That is what it does, because there are less people. It's growing. You're part of the very first conversations. But if you don't end up doing anything with that, then it doesn't really matter, right? Just to join, if you're going to join and do something with that, sure. But just to join because it's the new thing, no. Absolutely, you're going to be diluted. It's just going to be one other platform. So what are you actually doing there? What are you saying? What are you talking about? And what are your intentions? Again, if your intentions are to get leads at the very beginning, and I'm talking about at the very beginning, okay? I think you're going to be unmotivated fairly quickly, because it's, the leads are here, and then what you need to start doing is here, right? The leads come afterwards. It's like when you pitch an investor pitch. It's not about getting money in the bank right after that pitch. It's about getting them to say, oh, interesting, tell me more, right? It's about getting their attention. And
the last question for today, since we are limited with time, what can you recommend some new platforms in addition to those that we all know, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, maybe some other alternative channels that you use for your companies that you advise, etc., for marketing? Interesting marketing, organic marketing alternative channels.
So we've got Twitter, Reddit. Reddit, I think you and I have had a couple conversations about Reddit before. I personally use it for mostly for learning. So to learn about a startup space, than to actually be on it, because Reddit takes time, right? Reddit takes time, and it's a very specific very specific platform. But again, for those that are building from the very beginning, it might make sense, to do that, to do that customer discovery at the very beginning. But again, if you just and I think you're the one who told me that if you just go there and think, oh, I'm gonna get leads, then you're gonna get kicked out, right? It's very easy. And Twitter is very similar to that too. Not as strict per se, because of, you know, the feeds are not the same, but the people there will kick you out, right? But in terms of other platforms, yeah, I would say Reddit, for especially for learning. TikTok, I'm seeing a lot of TikTok being brought to LinkedIn, for example. But again, so what does that mean? Does that mean that LinkedIn is working, or is it TikTok is just for creating, right? So it depends on where you're at. If the founder, for example, already has a following, a strong following on TikTok, or a strong following on Twitter, it would make sense to start dabbling with that and see if steering the conversation or starting to follow different people in his space could make a big difference. In terms of work, I tried Polywork, for example. Polywork, but that's just another way to do LinkedIn without all the vanity and all that. I tried that. That's not, it doesn't really didn't really work for me. I'm trying to get my account removed. Seemed a little difficult. In terms of specific groups, you talked about Telegram. I think not as a platform per se, but in terms of groups, WhatsApp also, in terms of groups, trying to get to those groups. Let's say you're trying to sell, you know, you have something that is an app to help kids learn, right? And have better conversations, and you yourself as a parent have better conversations with your kids. Can you get in specific WhatsApp groups where the parents are of those schools, for example, is an idea.
But I'm surprised, because if in Telegram, at least you can search for different thematical channels, and you have also billion of websites that recommend different Telegram groups. In WhatsApp, I didn't even know that there are marketing groups, except those that are created by my network for solving specific questions. So how can you find them?
With the conversations that you're having with people, trying to get into those groups. There isn't per se, I don't think there is a website like Telegram, you know, where you go and search for that, which is really helpful. I think that is really great. But WhatsApp is a bit more, you know, I get to know you and you tell me, hey, I'm gonna put you in this group. Do you want to join this group? It's more in the dark recommendations. I don't think there's a website with WhatsApp groups. That's the beauty of Telegram also, right?
That's interesting. This is really new for me. So you can also use WhatsApp for marketing.
Yeah, because that's where for marketing, I'm not saying join marketing groups, and I'm sure there are. I have tons of groups, you know, with Facebook ads, different groups, because you end up joining them. And that's the tool that the admins use for this type of a thing. A lot have migrated in the past year to Telegram, to be honest. But those that are still there, I mean, let's say in the example that I gave you where you're doing an app, ultimately it's, you know, the parents that are paying, you know, the dream is to be in that group with all those parents, right? So the question is, how can we work back? How do I get in front of those parents in that group? And maybe, to be honest, maybe it's not directly as myself inside the group, but at least my being talked about inside that group. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So just to summarize today's conversation, because I remember you have to run now, Zineb's advice for 2021 and 2022 is first, focus on your customers and do customer exploration and research for sure. Second, be also personally attached to your brand, and don't hesitate, don't be shy. Go to social media, choose one channel, and talk about your business everyday aspects, not only about your advertising materials like I see a lot of people talking only, I speak at this event, I speak at this event, I'm a big speaker, look at me with microphone. Instead of that, just share your thoughts and share your professional expertise and your everyday fights. And then also LinkedIn remains the must-be platform for business people. Facebook, well, if you are not too much pissed off, you should better be there with their policies, yeah. And Twitter, if you are ready to spend hours per day to build this engagement and reply to every tweet and retweet, etc. And also Zineb recommended to check, if you did not do it yet, Reddit, Telegram, and WhatsApp, which is really new thing for me. So WhatsApp also has a lot of groups with a huge audience of people, which you can potentially reach if you get somehow invited to these groups. But probably this is the question of another post. Did I miss anything, Zineb?
Well, I would just say that two things. One, Twitter, you said if you have hours to spend, and also a good battery life on your phone, because if you put the notifications on, your battery just so I just removed the notifications. And the other one, in terms of your first point, you know, customer interviews are really important too. Like really, just like in addition to what you just said, you know, we spend so much time to acquire them, and especially at the beginning, you know, think about how to get more, but think about how these that you've gotten can help you get more, right? What can you learn from those at the very beginning?
Absolutely, and ask feedback also about your content and what kind of content they would like to see in your channels, maybe, if possible. Perfect. Zineb, thank you so much. And guys, if you have any questions remaining, please reply in the comments of this interview and send us questions, and we will cover them in the next interview with Zineb. Thank you very much, Zineb, for your insights, and have a beautiful day.
You too, Nelly. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.